Okay guys, welcome back to this video. So I have 45 minutes, as you can see here, to take my time and answer a YouTube comment who asked me how do I break down native ads basically and just rewrite them. So basically what we're gonna do, sorry for my speed, basically what we're gonna do is just rip this ad here and just rewrite it and make it a little bit better. Of course, I can take like a mechanism, change the mechanism, change the hooks, write new leads, or write it for a different persona, audience, this and that. But this will take a little bit longer process because right now I don't have any research. So let me show you just how I'm gonna rewrite this and make this personally better. So we have this here from Try Avilia. I just found them basically right now on the ad library here. And I saw they're pretty much scaling when we take a look at their brand search. Okay, never mind. Let me just click on here this page and see how much they're doing right now on brand search. Yeah, as you can see, they've been scaling very aggressively. And of course, this is not accurate, but it is what it is. It's enough to see because they have 228 ads actively on brand search. So what we're gonna do, I just take this one here, take this ad here, basically, copy this one, copy the description, is this the, so this ad code basically, yeah, just copy this one here, and just put it there. So, we have it here, and let's just break it down. So, let me make it a little bit smaller. I found a piece of dry blueberry on my kitchen floor on a Sunday morning, and I sat down linoleum and cried for 20 minutes. So I'm not sure what linoleum is, and what I would do is basically I just gonna take a research from it and ask myself what is this. So what is linoleum? Smooth waterproof flooring made from the human cork and dust. So this is basically displayed. Of course, I'm not a native English speaker, so I don't really know it. What I'm gonna do basically, piece on my kitchen floor. This is like basically an underwear audience. Underwear, hook, and audience. So we're just gonna break it down, and cry for 20 minutes. This is the open loop. So basically we're gonna hear right here, open loop. That's where the story starts. Not in the doctor's office, not a hospital, on the floor in the kitchen, Springfield, Missouri, in my robe at 7:40 in the morning, holding a piece of dried fruit that had rot on the cabinet 2 days earlier, missed in the broom. Okay, what I don't like here, let me just make this as a resume. That's where the story starts. Not a doctor's office, not a hospital, on the floor in my kitchen in Springfield, Missouri. What I don't like here is, of course, it's AI written. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take the recommendation and just write it simpler, because you have to ask yourself, do some person really speak like this? So what I'm gonna do, it's where the story starts. This is how my story starts. And not in an doctor office. Not in a hospital. But in the floor, on the floor of my kitchen. So, like this, you see? Sitting in my robe at 7:04 in the morning, holding a piece of dry fruit that had rolled under the cabinet 2 days earlier and missed the broom. My name is Patty. I'm 62 years old. So you can just remove this one here. I live in a yellow ranch house on Linwood Avenue that my husband Don and I bought in 1991. I don't know. When our oldest was still a stroller. I want to say stroller. I'm not sure if Americans really say that, but I would write like a baby. Still a baby. Dom passed 28, 2019, the house is too big for one person. Sadly, my husband don't pass in 2098 because it's not too emotional. The house is too big for one person. I know it. Since I've been what's called in English, let me use a translator because I'm sad. Translates yeah, a widow. So since I've been a widow, the house is too big for one person and I know it. But I'm doing anywhere because my granddaughter Ren lives 11 minutes away in a duplex with her mom, and Ren has become almost a bloom parent since she was 40 years old. To get some blueberry pancakes since she was 30 years old. Because she's everything to me. So why am I gonna write this like this? It's very important that you try to match and keep the natives like flowing. It's not about also the natives, general like copy. So, done about when I also still in a baby store, sadly my husband don't pass in 2019 since I've been a widow. The house is too big and one person. Our house is too big for one person and I know it. But I'm not going anywhere because my granddaughter Ren lives 11 minutes away. But my granddaughter Ren, I don't like this, like how I wrote this, because my granddaughter Ren, which is everything to me, lives 11 likes blueberry pancakes. And just lives 11 minutes away in a duplex with her mom. Dot. Ren has been coming over for Saturday morning to get some blueberry pancakes since she was 11 years old because she's. And I'm just gonna remove this back. So I'm just gonna make it this, that. So let me read it again. Since I've been a widow, our house is too big for one person and I know it, but I'm not going anywhere because my granddaughter Ren, who's everything to me, like blueberry pancakes, just lives 11 minutes away in a duplex with her mom, my daughter, which is my daughter. Just gonna do it like this. My daughter Rachel. But Ren has been coming coming every Saturday morning to get some blueberry pancakes since she was 4 years old. She's 7 now. That tradition is one thing I've not slipped in 3 years of widowhood. Yeah, that's fine. I make the batter from scratch. I use the cast iron my mother gave me when I got married. I cut the pancakes into shaved cookie cutters because Ren still wants stars and hurts even though she tells you she's too old for that. I let her stand on step stool and crack the eggs and she get well every time, pretend not to notice. We eat around Oakley time by the widow. 2 stacks, maybe 0 and 1 little pitch. Don't use it that way and don't know how to do it anyway. Now, let me give it more here so it looks better. So it's easy word to read. That's what Aristotelics are or been. I'm not sure if I think it's been or been because something is happening on those Saturday for the last 40 months that I haven't told anybody. Not Rachel, nor my sister Donna, nor my friend Carol from the church group. Not even my doctor who I saw in February and let me believe whatever I wanted to believe how I was doing. Not here it is because it's AI. This is the thing, the one scary thing I haven't told anybody out loud. About 30 to 45 minutes after we finish eating those pancakes, I start to feel someone with my granddaughter. I start to feel like someone is letting the air out of me, like a slow leak. My hands got heavy, my hands got light, my vision got a little bit edges. Like the corner of the kitchens are dimming, and there's specific kin or trembling starts from my forearm and works its way down to my finger. That the kin that makes you put down whatever you're holding because you don't trust yourself in this age, because you want to, of course, make the person better, or like feel more honest in these ages when you are above 60. The first time it happened, I was washing dishes and I dropped a glass into the sink. Just dropped. I would just remove this because this is AI slop again. Let me get how do I call it, tissue for my nose. But yeah, I will come back right back. This is also AI slop. Where you can see like AI slop is that a sentence here is just way too short and nobody would say it, even like not a human would say it. So the glass didn't break. Like we can just read again. The first time it happened, I was washing dishes and I dropped a glass into sink. The glass didn't break, thank God. Way smoother. But Ran came out running because she had her son and told her grandma just being clumsy. She went back to her cartoons. What I will do. What kind of series a kid would watch at 7 years old these days? Tales of Ladybug. Disney cartoons. Just wanted to feel a little bit more. The second time I was wiping down the table and my legs went underneath me and I sat down right there in the kitchen chair and breathed for about 40 minutes before I felt right again. This is okay. The third time I went lay down on the couch and Ren followed me with her stuffed rabbit laid down next to me and petted with her arm. Then said, "Are you sick, Grandma?" I said, "No, honey, just a little tired." She said, "You're always tired after pancakes." I closed my eyes and she wouldn't see them well up. Because she was right. I'm always tired about pancakes. I'm always tired of other waffles. I'm always tired after oatmeal brown sugar. I'm always tired after sweet potatoes. Thanksgiving fruit salad, Rachel bring an Easter, the angel food my cake, neighbor bands set over my... Okay, what I don't like here, this is way too long. This is enough. Just remove this. I've been blaming a lot of things which are happening. I have blaming a lot of things to myself. Dot. I've been blaming getting old. That was the big one. AI swap again. Anytime my body did something I didn't understand, I whispered to myself, you're 62. What did you expect? What do you expect? Did you expect? And as if 62 was a death sentence. As if my own mother had been mowing her own lawn at 64. As I hadn't watched Dawn father chopped wood at 81. I don't understand this sentence, to be honest. So what I can do is just make this easier. I felt like being 62 right now, for myself, feels like a death sentence. I couldn't understand it. Let me translate this because I don't understand it because I'm not directly a native speaker. So what I'm gonna do is just like... Yeah, okay. So that means that she is mowing her grass. As I didn't saw my own mother hadn't been mowing her own lawn at 7:44. So then just remove this because I saw my own mother had been mourning her own just move this again. It's also getting smoother. So if I hadn't watched on for this chop wood 81. I have been blaming Poland because Springfield and Spring is a war zone and the southern makes you feel like a Swiss sentiment. I've been blaming poor sleep because I have not slept in 4 hours since Dawn died and I've made a peace with that. I've been blaming the heat, I've been blaming carrying too many bags from the car, and blaming long list that not give anything to do with pancakes. But there's a small voice in black in my head that knew. Beginning louder. And then on Sunday, late March, Mary was helping me wash the syrup of her sticky fingers in the kitchen, and she looked up at me with those big brown eyes and she said, "Grandma, why do your hands shake after we eat?" I froze with dish rag in my head. She wasn't accusing of me anything. She wasn't very exactly. She was 7 years old. Asking the way 7 years old as. Curious, observant. This is not I would say, not an end of a sentence. No, I think nobody would say this like that. The way she asked me why the moon looks bigger some nights, or why dogs tilt their heads. Because she is, how do we say it in English? Curious. Yeah, curious. Because she is curious like a normal 7-year-old girl. But it landed me like a stone dropped on a well. A 7-year-old noticing. Not noticing once, not noticing a pattern. I would just remove this as AI again. Noticing enough to ask a question out loud to her grandma. Which meant she'd been watching me for weeks. Or maybe even months. Storing it up. Wondering about her grandma. Anyway, it's again AI. I told her, "Oh sweetie, it's just a syrup. Sugar makes some grown-ups a little wobbly." She nodded that way. She nods when she doesn't really believe you, but she's too polite to push. Then she said, "Does that mean you can't eat pancakes anymore?" She looked sad. Let's make more emotion. And I'll tell you what, the sentence wrecked me. Because it wasn't about pancakes, it was about, I think this is a sentence together. It was about her understanding in her own 7-year-old way that her grandma was breaking down, that something was wrong, that the woman she'd been, since she was a baby in a stroller was not as solid as she believed. I made her through the rest of the breakfast. I drove her home and I came back. Not here. I went to the kitchen, clean up, and that's when I sat down on the floor and cried over a piece of dry bread that she missed in the bathroom. Long enough for the sun across the kitchen and light to Linoleum to shift. This again, and we don't need this here enough because we already said here, and we double again. So we make sure that when you write something, that you not double your sentence or not you repeat not your sentences again. And I made a decision that morning, not a dramatic one, just a quiet one. This is AI slop again. We don't need this here. I was going to figure out what was wrong with me. Not because I was scared of dying, and not made my peace with what comes. This again, this AI slop is not needed. I was scared of disappearing when I was still alive. You can just remove this again. I was going to figure out what's wrong with me. I was scared of disappearing when I was still alive. I was scared of the version that Ren was going to remember. The one who shook, the one who laid down, the one who said, just remove this again. The one who said, "Grandma, just a little tired, sweetie." 400 more times before the girl turned 12 and figured out her grandma was lying. I want to be the grandma. I think this one is also not needed. I want to be the grandma who remembered the way I remember my own grandmother, Ada, who lived to 89 and could thread a needle until the week she died. That was the goal. That was the line in the set. Not move this again. I went to see Doctor that Tuesday there immediately. This is I told her about the shaking, the lightheadedness, the way it all seems to hit after meals. I left out the part about Ren because I couldn't say it out without crying. I didn't want to cry in the office. The shaking, I think you can just hear her do like this, and then here, the way it seems to hit after meals. She did blood work, she did the stand-up panels. When she called me back into the office, a week later she said my numbers were borderline. The word borderline. My fasting blood sugar was higher than she liked. My A1C1 was creeping. Nothing red line, she said. Nothing in the red line. Is in the red line, she said. Nothing, she was ready to medicate. Nothing dangerous. There's also a sentence again, I think, but she used the word pre-diabetic, and she used it carefully, the way you use a word when you're trying to scare someone just enough to take it seriously. We need to watch this, she said. It's more, I would say, way better to hear. I said, what we should do. What should I do? He said, cut back on carbs, walk more, lose 10% if you can. That was the appointment. That was the only thing I got. The only advice I got. To think about this. I've been eating the same way for 40 years and the same pancakes, the same casseroles. Instead of this, my diet has been the same for 40 years, and somewhere along the line of my body had stopped being able to handle it. The way a faucet starts dripping before the pipe gives out. But here's the thing that bothered me about the doctor visit. She told me what the subject. She hadn't told me what was actually going on underneath the surface. She told me why a 60-year-old girl in the other house on Linwood Avenue could eat a steak of package she'd been eating for her whole life and give her a handshake 40 minutes. She hadn't been told me what my body has changed. She hadn't been told me what is happening in level cells and the biologist Sims has been running quietly. In the background was a baby. Doesn't have time for a answer when the answer. Yes, I can't. And I started researching and finding the truth by myself. I read for 5 nights straight after dinner. I'm digging the internet for 5 nights. Straight after dinner. I made tea. Not needed. Also not needed. This is not necessary for the story. I found something interesting instead of reading because this is not needed. Found something about. Well, I found something. I found something about the glycemic response. The way your body turns food into sugar then has to deal with the blood sugar. I would say it's blood sugar. I'm not sure because I'm not really deep into this topic. I read about it when you're younger that the whole process runs smoothly. Food comes in, your body breaks it down at a pace it can handle. Sugar trickles into your blood. Your body keeps up. You feel fine. You feel normal. You feel like a person. But over time, the system gets worn down. It gets worn down by stress, by processed food, by environment toxins, by depleted. That's the mechanism. By the way, that's the root cause. This is root cause here. Let me just copy it. This is the root cause. From the unaware story. That's a spike, that's a crash, that's trembling hands in the kitchen while your grandfather got the food. I realized it wasn't the problem. The food has been... The problem was the pathway and it was supposed to control the speed of how your body handled. The pathway had been worn down every year, it gone by a little bit more. Yeah, we already repeat this, we don't need to tell it more. This is also not needed to understand that my body wasn't betraying me out of nowhere, to understand there was a system in there, had been doing this for job for something years, so just but then I find more. Kept finding more. And on the third night I read something that stopped me cold. Pomegranate. I had not thought about pomegranate in 50 years. My grandmother used to crack them open with her thumbs and eat the seed on time, sitting in her own kitchen table of glass water. She called a fruit of life. I thought she was being dramatic. She wasn't being dramatic. That's what ancient healers call it, for thousands of years. The etiquette contains called Puni-Kalagins. Oh, man, I don't know what they are saying here, man. Some of them most study antioxidant. Some of the Puni-Kalagins is one of the most studied antioxidant compound in nature, and researchers had been looking at what those compounds do for every pathway. I've been spent 5 nights. The pathway that controls fast current breakdown sugar went down to me. It didn't make any white promise. What I said in a plain language I couldn't understand was the program has been studied for supporting the pathway. That when the pathway is better supported sugar, it can eat when you were young. This is also not needed. I sat down for I don't need this as well. I thought about my grandma. My own grandmother. About her cracking those pomegranates open in her kitchen ransom when she was 78 and her hands were steadier and the mind on now. But the way she ate them slowly. About the way she lived 90 square hand. Slowly. Yeah, I almost read it right. So, what we're gonna do. After this, we did this, you're gonna break it. We're just gonna break it a little bit more down. I'm already breaking this down and I already understand where the paths are, but so make sure that so you understand it. What are we gonna do? I wonder what the woman supplement. About the other old woman in my age. Only bonus point in trying to figure out which of the first should do something for her blood sugar. I thought about how many of them had been told eat less, walk more, and sent home with no real explanation. I kept reading. I learned that pomegranate has one of the highest of the measuring food. We already did this, to be honest. Because we already did this, like later on that way, we don't need to do it anymore, so we can just delete it. I want to tell you what I did next, but I want to be honest about the path I took because I know some of you are going to recognize yourself in it. I didn't only think in it at night because I'm skeptical. I'm scared being scammed. I watched my friends throw $400 more for 15 years and I've watched none of them get better. 3 bars of stuff care from church and convinced me to buy it, but I haven't been taking I'm not the audience for online sort of ads. I've never been. So I closed the laptop, I went to bed late in the dark and thought about Ryder. Shake me again and thought about her 11 and 47. She was going to remember about me. Thought about my grandma and about her heads. So I went and went. So I went back to the computer and I read it. The brand called Olivia. You're not the kind of woman who falls for a brand. I want you to know that, but what I like about Olivia when I dug into them was they didn't promise anything. Olivia. When I dig down and they didn't promise anything, they didn't tell my life was going to be transformed in 40 days. They didn't have a doctor in white collar pointing a chart. They explained pomegranate. They explained punica lagins. I think it's an ingredient or something. And what it does. They explained the research and didn't suggest they were careful about it. Because they were careful about it. And they backed the bottle with 90 management, doesn't work 100% back. The last part mattered for me the most. Because I had been burned before. And anybody over 50-50 reading this has bought something that didn't work and felt stupid about for a year. The guarantee meant I was going to feel I wasn't going to be feel stupid. I was going to feel like a woman trying something clear way if it wasn't right. Yeah, this is a sentence together again. Okay, I was going to feel like trying something clear wasn't right. I bought a bottle and came with a million latest on a Wednesday and I started taking that Saturday morning on capsule glass of water. Just only one capsule with a glass of water. I won't tell you what everything that changed in that week. Changed in the week. Nothing. Be honest, I almost stopped. Not needed. Second week, something small happened. I was I toasted. What's usually guaranteed to crash, but 8 I was wiping down the bathroom on it. I realized I felt fine. Stood there and was spraying bottom of my head. Took an inventory, shaky forearms. No shaky forearms, no night head, no fog at the edges. I thought, well, maybe just a good day. It happened again. Oatmeal, brown sugar, the kind of breakfast that usually had me. The couch by 9 at 9. I was on my knees, pulled weeds out the flower bed in the front yard. By the end of the week 3, I noticed I was not thinking about the crash anymore. I wasn't bracing for it. I wasn't planning my heads. And I might need to sit down. By week 5, my afternoon energy had come back. The 3 p.m. had been heady for years, and I wanted to sit couch return. I couldn't muster energy and to do anything else. Had moved. I was doing at 3 p.m. I was doing things again. 3 p.m. I got folding laundry, calling my sister, walking around the block. What I would do here. Once when I sat down on the couch because I couldn't message it, everything else had moved. I want to be careful here because I'm not telling you probably. Yeah, that's fine. Some people notice nothing. Some people notice a little. I haven't noticed a lot. And I think that's because of my pathway had been going down for a long time and not like. Then week 7, it's Saturday. Ran came over for pancakes again. I made the batter from scratch. I used cast iron. You cut them into 1 ounce zero. We ate it around, but 2 snacks. They told me about the boy at school named Brody who eats glue. I told her glue is not a food and she should not eat glue. She agreed, but Rory seems to be doing fine on it. After breakfast, I clean up and wash the dishes and we're done. Tame myself on the couch. Not needed, because we're already doing our ceremony. We did something. My hands were steady. My hands were clear. I was not on the couch. I was staying with her. We already told this, so we don't need to tell this again. I was 62 years old and I was reading a children's book for my granddaughter on a Saturday morning with my whole self present in the room. I cannot tell you what I feel like. There's another word in the English for a feeling getting back something you didn't realize you were grieving until it came home. She didn't say anything about my hands. She didn't ask I was sick. She didn't follow me on the couch. She just hugged me, closed the door, and leaned against it. I cried a different way than one cried. And I've been living for 6 months. I take 1 capsule every morning with a glass of water for breakfast. That's it. I haven't changed my diet. We could say this, but I think we did this already. Since we're running, I would say it's. I would not say it's Takes a 2, but it could make sense. Maybe because she's still not 63. But yeah, that's it. I would not remove this again because this is AI slop. But the spikes have eased, the crash has softened, shaken after meals are gone. We already told this and that. I went back to my doctor. In September and my fasting numbers have come down enough that she stopped using the word pre-diabetic and started using the word improved. She asked me what I was doing. I told her in peace. And then I don't know what she wrote. I don't care. What I care was around this 8 next month. She has having postpartum embolia. I'm making pancakes again. Starts and hearts. One soon. Yellow Ranch and Linwood Avenue, Spring, Missouri. If you read this far, I'm not going to pay you a big pitch. This is not needed because it feels like we are studying something. Go for the what everybody's different and everybody's their own way. What I tell you is what piece of fancy lunch I can eat when you try a bottle. You can take 1 capsule a day, you give it a week. If you feel something, you keep going. If you don't, you ship it back and then refund it. That's the deal. That's how Olivia does it. You don't have to gamble, you don't have to want to just try it. Just try it. The website is below. If you have something, so reading his phone at night and read the whole answer Saturday morning, you've been missing without knowing. It wasn't you the story that your doctor had time for 50 minutes upon me. There was more for me. There might be for you. We already told us. We don't need to tell us. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, this is not needed, not necessary. So we have fully doing, I don't know how many corrects I've been, but what I realized here, this one is like a great unaware story. I don't like the hook. We could improve the hook, I would say. What we can also improve is like the structure, how it's flowing. But the story is just basically in general, what we can break down and learn from it is basically, this is an unaware story, which resonates most about the people, about the grandma who has like high blood sugar and getting the symptoms where she could not live her life again. this is something who are grandmothers are very scared of it, and they don't want to be that grandma who gets questions asked and worried about a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, and do the stuff again. So basically, we can see the mechanism here. So basically, this starts basically like somebody happens, and she tells her story, how she had a story which happens to her, basically in a, how do we say, that happens to her, where like her granddaughter came over for 11 years, and then she got broken, or she got the symptoms of which person blood sugar has. So here you can see the pain points and this and that, and she blames herself basically. So when we go back then here, she goes there, goes to the doctor's basically the failed solution. The doctor says she don't have time for her, and she doesn't care about you, and the doctor just gives you a fucking bad solution. So then she dig deeper and find out that the root cause is something that your, how do we say, but it breaks past intention, but it keeps you. The system gets worn down because of cortisol. Cortisol is the thing that makes you destroy you and increase your blood sugar. And that's also the reason why you have these type of spikes. And then basically when we see here, here's the UMS beginning. So basically you can just make it here, because the pomegranate is the product, or in general it's polylagacine, which basically is the thing who solves your problems, or like solve the blood sugar, because we can say it here, it's the most antioxidant and reduces the antioxidative stress which you have basically. I want to be the 10x, and then of course she tried not be scared, be scammed, and the person is a persona who's grandma who's been scared of scamming and is really worried about her life and want to be not a grandma who lives there and just has to stick on the couch basically. And then she found a brand called Levier, so here's basically the product pitch. Can make it orange so it's easier to understand it. And then the brand is something who don't want to make high claims, but basically when their future pacing is coming, then they're like going heavily what's going to happen to them again. And then what you're going to see is like the desire that she can live basically here again. I think it's here. What I cares about when is 8 next month and making a princess party. Yeah, and then of course they go heavily on the guarantee. Yeah, that's basically 43 minutes of sauce and breaking down a winner from this brand who is currently making a lot of banks, I would say. When you just click on this one here and see this page here, so they're currently scaling right now and seeing of how many active ads they have. So if you find this video very interesting, just comment a like, just subscribe my native, and also if the brand search is finally fixing my affiliate link, just use brand search. I really liked it and I just enjoy it. If you want more, just comment something and I'm just gonna make sure that it's gonna be a video. Bye bye.